when he's not. Hello, Internet!
Oh, we're live!
Ba-ba! Just like that.
Turned around, there it is.
Laura's fussing the dog, and then before she knows it, we're on Internet. How are we all doing? Time for another sit down.
It's been a couple of weeks already.
With Ian and Laura. I know, where's the time going, eh?
Especially July. I feel like July is going very quickly.
It is, yeah. And what's happened to the nice weather as well?
Yeah. It's all right now.
It's all right now, yeah. I've been away in a soggy tent for 4 days in Norfolk. Now it's nice. And then when I go away on Friday again, UK, it's going to be gross again.
Nice.
Guaranteed. Never mind.
Can't win.
Dems the breaks. So, what are we talking about today, Laura?
So, we're going to do GT Fitness Edition of overrated or underrated.
Like it.
I've seen a few people do these actually on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff, and it's good fun. It's a good light-hearted way to talk about a lot of topics that I think can get misunderstood. People don't really know if it's worth investing their time or their money in.
Yeah.
Various health and fitness stuff. So I've got 5 things that I'm going to ask Ian. We're going to say initially what we think, and then we can go a bit more into the more nuanced stuff. And there's
dangerous.
Well, we might disagree on some stuff. That's why it could be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely.
Depends what angle you look at it from.
It's true.
But there's a mix of like, we've got training stuff, nutrition, sleep, habits, that kind of thing. So a bit of everything.
Amazing. All right.
Cool.
Well, let's do it. Hit me up. I'm trying not to look at your laptop.
We haven't actually even gone through this. Yeah.
Surprise me.
Okay, so number 1, doing body weight exercises. Overrated or underrated? Compared, I guess, to non-body weight.
I think that at the end of the day, it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Am I supposed to give like a one thing, overrated or underrated? I don't know.
That's the thing, you can't really for these.
It's a tool, right? All we're trying to do in order to get stronger is to push enough force or load through the muscles in order to stimulate a response. Mm-hmm. Most people, the response being, we want to get stronger. I don't know anyone that trains to get weaker. So the best way to do is decrease the load through the muscles. So I think underrated in terms of beginners, for people that haven't done anything before, and maybe underrated for that, and I think maybe overrated for more experienced people. Because you end up, if you get to a certain level of proficiency, when you first start out, bear with me here, when you first start out, you can do 2 or 3 push-ups with good form, no pull-ups with good form, 10 to 15 squats with good form, etc. That's a really effective rep range in terms of return on investment time-wise. Whereas 6 months down the line, when you've been doing it and you can bust out 30 to 40 push-ups, all of a sudden you're having to work out for a long time
to get the same,
to create that stimulus and to push enough load through the muscles and to generate enough stress and load in order to get the same improvements. So I think it's a case of law of diminishing returns. However, I feel like it's across the board a phenomenal tool to incorporate into your training. I don't think anyone should ever not do any body weight. But again, it's always going to depend on the goals, right?
There's such a big difference as well between different body weight exercises, isn't there? So a squat or a lunge compared to, like you said, a pull-up or doing dips, chin-ups, Bulgarian split squats, that still can be body weight. A lot harder than just like a body weight squat. So
And this was, I think, scraping the barrel for positives about the pandemic, but it showed people how effective body weight training can be. And if you have someone that knows what they're talking about, a good coach, then we can do a lot in order to mix things up in that space. So things like you mentioned there, so going to a single leg exercise, messing around with the tempos, adding
time under tension,
adding a pause, just slowing things down and bringing intention to it. A lot of people, their main experience of bodyweight exercise might have been someone that ventures into a class at their local leisure centre or whatever, where they're doing 30, 40, 50 reps of squats in time with music or in time with their instructor, with absolutely no regard for control and squat depth and technique. Just getting people to slow down and bring intention to the movement and to feel the force they're applying into the floor, for example, are great cues, and you'll find the exercise completely transforms.
Feels like a different exercise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in summary, it absolutely depends on the individual, it depends on the goals, but I think it's so easily dismissed and underrated as a tool. I am going away for 2 weeks on Friday. I am absolutely taking a kettlebell with me, nice. But the majority of the training, and that's just going to be for majority pull patterns, right? I've seen the programming. Looks pretty gross. Thanks, James. Thanks, coach. But a lot of it will be body weight, inevitably. And it's a really legitimate way of keeping your hand in across the summer months. So it's nice that we're having this conversation now. And I use it day to day in my regular programming, almost as a finisher now. So if I've done a push session, so overhead presses and chest press and things like that, then at the end of the session, one of the things I might do is push-ups to failure in a narrow grip or a wide grip or a diamond grip or something like that, just to exhaust the muscle tissues and get as much load through there as possible and work it in a different way. So a really good time-effective way of doing it. But if I started my workout like that, it's going to take a long time, not bragging. But
4 days later.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not at that stage with pull-ups yet, just busting out 40 of them. But again, though, starting with a weighted pull-up at the end of the session, work out some bodyweight chin-ups or something to exhaust in a different mode. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I imagine it's probably quite easy for some people to start with bodyweight stuff, get on to enjoying lifting heavy weights and stuff, and then to kind of forget and think, oh, that's not important anymore, but it can definitely be used in specific ways for, it's a good tool for various things.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we have that conversation all the time. People are like, oh, I'm away with work, therefore I can't train. Like, if you
got your body.
Know your body, it weighs something, so we can manipulate that weight and put you in an inefficient position to make sure we really load the muscles. Like we always say to people, pick a barbell up, weighs 20 kilos, pick it up in the middle, most people can pick it up. Pick it up on one end with two hands. It's really difficult.
It's hard.
Same thing, if we can change the angle that you're lifting from and make it less efficient. Like, why do you think that most people, if you can do an overhead press, single-sided overhead press, say, for example, with a 12 kg kettlebell, you try doing that with a lateral raise further away from the body, so the weight is further away from the lever, the fulcrum, you're going to increase the load in technical terms and in total terms, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's loads of manipulations you can do. It's super flexible. It's free for everyone because we all have a body. So I would say underrated.
Yes. Cool.
Stamp.
I mean, I knew the question. They're all going to go this way, where we're like,
I'm going to go, I can't decide.
You have to pick. Okay, number 2. Moving on to sleep then.
Ooh.
This one I'm interested to hear about.
Okay.
What do you think about having a nap during the day if you slept badly the night before, you haven't got enough sleep? Having a nap, overrated or underrated?
Underrated. Yeah, go get a nap.
Yes, I'm happy you said that.
So first of all, if you're going to stack it up against a lie-in, a nap is so much better. This is again topical, or I feel like you've been hacking out my influence feed and know what I was at. I went to the theatre last night with my family, with the kids. We didn't get in till 11. I was in bed for 11:30. Now for me, nerd that I am, that's like 2 hours later than normal, right? I still woke up. My circadian rhythm is that well established that my body's used to it. I woke up naturally about 6:15, 6:30. I could have stayed in bed. I absolutely could have gone, I could do another 45 minutes. I didn't. I got up, I did my usual routine, maintained that routine so my body knows this is when morning is. I'm not sliding in another direction. And I think that's something that can happen a lot over the summer months as well, as we go through and we have a week, 2 weeks where we're not having to get up at the same time. So there's a slow creep. And then you find yourself facing up to, oh my God, I'm getting up 2 hours later than I was when I was at work. Maintaining that, but then I get up, do that, and sometimes even with the 45 minutes, go back to bed then. You've started the day. Your body now has signaled that the day's begun. It's been outside, it's had some natural light, it's been through all these little cues that it recognises. Yeah. Then you can go back to bed then, have 45 minutes, an hour in bed, and that will top you up. Best scenario, I'd say, is to get a bit more of your day done. But we don't live in a perfect world.
No, you've got to have a nap where you can.
Exactly, nap when you can. It's true. The only thing I'd say where it's overrated is a nap getting towards bedtime.
That really messes up my sleep if I do that.
Yeah. My wife is one of those people that can nap sort of 6 till 8, get up
in the evening.
And then go back to bed again. Just wake up, go upstairs, and go back to bed. She could sleep just all day, every day.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I am a little bit jealous. I've never been much of a napper, although having kids did make it something that was a necessity. Yeah. But yeah, I think it does impact on the quality of your sleep. Again, there are a lot of studies that show this. You know, with regards to hormone regulation. You are going to start to impact on that. The body needs these cues. So I think having that nap up till around, similar to caffeine really, once you get past midday, 2 o'clock, you're starting to have a negative impact on your sleep that night. However, if you are falling asleep at your desk at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you know, yes, having a 20-minute nap is a good idea. 20 minutes is the
That's what I was going to say next. Yeah, how long would you say?
Yeah.
So 20 minutes.
Again, it differs on how much rest you're missing out on. An hour and a half is a full sleep cycle, so if you can get down and manage that, great. But yeah, if you're short on time, I think 20 minutes is the optimum. Sort of just reset the brain, switch off for a little while, let the subconscious take over, and then you can jump back into it feeling alert. Whereas a lot of people, if they go past the 20 minutes into 40 minutes, an hour, you just wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle, you feel super sluggish. And
I've definitely done that a few times where I've thought I'm really tired, so I'm going to allow myself to have more than 20 minutes, and I've had like 45, 50 and felt so groggy.
Yeah.
And actually, if I'd just got up after 20, I probably would have felt more refreshed.
Yeah, if you extrapolate that amount of time out from that hour and a half or 45 minutes to a full night's sleep, that is equivalent to me running into your bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning with a foghorn and going, right, let's go do some sprints. You're not going to welcome that. I mean, I think whatever time I did that to you, you're probably going to welcome it. But
that would be weird.
I've asked Harry, I'm getting the key. So we're going to test it, guys.
Oh, God.
We'll go live tomorrow morning, 2 a.m. We're going to wake Laura up. But yeah, so I think it's finding what works for you and understanding that there is no perfect way to do it. I think the perfect way to do it, obviously, is to get a better night's sleep. But there's times when I'm not going to... I would love to take my children out for an experience of going to a West End show, but I'm not going to do that because of my sleep. That is not balanced.
To be on point,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can't be perfect all the time. That's not the world I want to live in, and I'm guessing most of you watching don't either. So I think in those points where it's looking at damage limitation, cheeky nap mid-morning, that's the ticket.
That's what you write out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you said that. I feel better about my naps. I feel like some people make it seem like a very guilty thing, having a nap, but yeah, it can be really beneficial if done properly.
Well, yeah, and I think, look at it culturally. You look at the Mediterranean lifestyle, which is lauded. I mean, a lot of the success in terms of longevity, got really long life expectancy. A lot of that is put down to their nutrition. I actually think it's a combination. So nutrition, yes, social side of it. They spend a lot of time, like elderly people live within the family unit still, so they don't have time on their own. Therefore, their mental capacity doesn't degrade as often. They stay more physically active because they've got hands and people to help them out if they do fall or anything like that. But another big factor is the siesta, the daytime nap. All these things contribute, but just there's no studies. You can't really say it's definitely this because there's these different things on these observational studies. So yeah, a nap can really, really help with that. But culturally, I think in our culture and Western culture, I'm including myself in that, is this... Still, we're in this vibe of, I only need 5 hours sleep. And,
just keep grinding.
Yeah, the hustle mentality, which is nonsense. And again, the science is so obvious on this. We all need sleep. Yes, there are the lucky sausages that can do well on 7 hours. Others do better on 9 hours. A lot of it, I'd say again, how much sleep you require is indicative of how much inflammation you've got in your body, whether it be from stress, whether it be from external factors like air pollution and what you're taking in, what you're consuming, as to how much rest and recuperation your body requires, and also how effective your sleep is if your body's having to tackle all of that. Versus, like last week I did a 3-day water only fast, so just no food, just water for 3 days. I've done it a few times before. My sleep scores on my Whoop were ridiculous, like 96, 97% every night, because my body wasn't distracted by digesting food, lowering inflammatory levels from the foods I've taken in, and I find that food and drink is the main indicator on my recovery scores anyway. Like if I don't eat well or I drink alcohol, it's worse, way worse.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So if you actually take that off the table, and I'm not suggesting that that's right for everyone to go without food for 3 days. It's obviously
just stop eating.
yeah, don't eat, you'll sleep really well. But it is the way our bodies quite often respond really well to, is not having any food for a few days. That's how we used to operate, right? We used to run around looking for food, and naturally our bodies haven't changed that much since those days.
Yeah.
They can handle it really well, and it's a really nice way for your body to take the energy it was using on digesting food to go and sort other long-standing issues out. So it's a really great way of lowering inflammatory markers.
Do you think a good way, if you weren't going to go and do a fast like that, a good way to make a bit of a change, a positive change, would be to, if you find that you're kind of grazing throughout the day, to have more of a decent space between your meals? Would that be a good thing to do?
Yeah, it can help. Again, it depends on what the meals are. There's so many things, like if you're eating something that's got quite a high glycemic index, it's going to spike your blood sugar, then you are going to have an energy low, which will probably have a negative impact on you through the day. However, if you're eating something that's relatively high in protein, got a lot of fibre, very high in nutrients, so lots of veggies and proteins, then yeah, absolutely, spacing out your meals can be really helpful. And the other obvious thing is not eating too close to bedtime. Yeah,
that's a big one.
It is, it's massive, and that's where the popularity of intermittent fasting comes in, I think, is that a lot of people, there's a lot of importance given to certain aspects of it that maybe aren't proven to be effective, but I think that is one of the things that can really help. If you cut your eating window, then you tend to eat worse foods in the evenings anyway, and you're going to reduce inflammation in your system, so you'll sleep better as a result.
I should have put intermittent fasting as one of those. That would have been a good one.
Yeah, depends who you speak to, overrated, underrated on that one.
Yeah. All right, number 3, moving on to recovery. Foam rolling, and I guess I would include traditional foam rollers, but also like massage guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For recovery. Moreover.
Geez, these are tough, Laura. I'm loving it. I would say underrated. Again, I'm going to say underrated because how many people do you know that consistently do it? Right? I'm
not very consistent with it.
No.
To be fair.
And the reason why that is there seems to be this belief that you have to spend 20 minutes on the thing. And a lot of it's similar to training. When the first time you use it, you use it when you're in acute distress. So you go, oh, this feels really tight. My quadricep feels like a lump of granite. I can't train. Or like yesterday, I said to you, like my calf started to seize up just walking along. I'm like, oh my God, I can tell I'm getting old. I'm getting walking injuries now. But jumped on the foam roller before I trained, used it up. Training actually really helped it as well. I believe there's a place for it. I really do. What I don't think most people need to do is do that long. What we tend to do is we go, oh, the longer I spend on it, the quicker it's going to get rid of this discomfort I'm experiencing. However, what we're actually looking for is consistency and spending a minute to 2 minutes a day doing it every day. Because then, guess what? It stops hurting as much. It becomes habitual, and it just helps to decompress the tissue when we're moving through the day. And this is, again, the science is not decided on this at all. The amount of pressure you can physically exert on the fascia around the muscles, which is supposedly what we're doing when we foam roll. So when we train, we create, if you imagine like a knot in a piece of wood, if you try and cut through the knot is really, really hard to get through unless you're using a power saw. If you're using a hand saw, you're not going to get through it. And also that's where wood tends to be less flexible. Same thing with the fascia around our muscles. Those knots form when we exercise due to lactic acid buildup and a couple of other compounds that are boiling, blah, 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 blah. But over time, then, if it's not addressed, if you don't cool down effectively, if you haven't moved enough, that can calcify and these knots get tighter and tighter. And it's obviously a part on the muscle where the muscle can't now contract. It's pulling against. So you've almost created another stop point in the muscle. So it feels uncomfortable. Idea being, if we foam roll, it breaks down that calcified deposit and then the body can clear it away. However, what we're not sure about is whether we can exert enough pressure physically or withstand the amount of pressure required to break it down, to get rid of it. But and that's what I mean, the science is not really decided on that, and a lot of the science doesn't back it up. However, anecdotally, I find it makes a massive difference to myself and to my clients. I think
it makes you feel better.
And I'd say even if that is a placebo effect, I'm taking it because I feel better for it. My muscles feel better for it. I tend to get fewer niggles and injuries and things.
If you're able to get a better training session out of doing a little bit of foam rolling, then
And
why not?
that's what I mean. Like, if someone's saying to me, "Oh, it's a placebo effect," like, I don't care. I did it. I felt better. I'm going to keep doing it, whether it's a placebo effect or not. Whether it's my brain being tricked and having that impact on my body, I don't care. Is it helping? Yes, it's helping me.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage absolutely everyone watching this to, even if you're not exercising that regularly, what I'd say, if you have something in your day that you do every day, and I'd say 90% of the people watching this, it may well be what you're doing right now, going on social media. It might be watching TV in the evening. If that's something you do almost every evening, have an agreement with yourself that for the first 2 minutes of whatever program you're watching, so 2 minutes of a 60-minute show, for example, you will get on the foam roller and you'll basically do a little assessment of your body and go, what feels tight, move around a bit. If I noticed any tightness or niggles at all during the day, attack that with the foam roller. 1 minute on each side. I don't mean of the muscle, I mean of your body. So if you've got a tightness in your right calf, for example, don't just do your right calf, do a minute on your right calf, a minute on your left calf. And then overall it will add up and it will have a massive improvement. And it's such a small amount of time then that feels sustainable to people. And also when you're first starting out, it's really uncomfortable. And as we've talked about before, we can only take so much discomfort in our brains to the point that our brain's going to go, don't do that tonight. I'd rather just chill out and watch Love Island or whatever it is you're watching. But overall, I'd say underrated. And I think there's a lot of busybodies online who love to trash stuff because it gets them clicks and attention. Go, it doesn't work. I've read this study that says this and that. It's like, well, it's working for me. So it's up to you. I'd say the guns are great.
Guns.
You know, I don't want to say brand names, but we're not on the BBC.
Massage guns.
Massage guns. Other brands are available, but they get the job done quicker. I'd say it's slightly more time efficient. But again,
easier,
if you're not doing it regularly with the 10 quid roller you bought, don't worry about spending 170 quid on the gun.
Some of them are so expensive.
Yeah,
as well.
it's like the person that goes, I'm not training, therefore I'm going to buy a Peloton, or I'm going to buy this fancy adjustable dumbbell set or a supplement or something in order to get me the results quicker. The problem isn't the tools. The problem is your methodology at the moment and your consistency. So address that first. I'd say buy something cheap, use that consistently for a few months, and then if you fancy little stocking filler of a massage gun, then you can do.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and if you're using foam rolling as a warm up, well, as part of your warm up before your training, you might have already said this, but try and be specific and actually target certain things, especially if you're short on time. Like a lot of us don't have an hour or less to train, so don't waste 20 minutes of it rolling every inch of your body up and down. You know, like when you see people just rolling their whole body up and
Looks
down.
fun though, right?
I have done that before. But yeah, I would go in with like a bit of a plan, like 2 or 3 things that you're going to foam roll, like you said, for a minute or whatever, and then get into your workout or the warm up and stuff. Be specific with it.
And on the flip side of that, don't think, I've barely got time to fit my whole workout in. If you aren't moving well, you will get more out of losing a set almost. Say you're doing 5 sets of 10 on a squat and you've got the option whether to have that 5th set or whether to roll out your quads before, then it's a long workout. Again, cheers James. If you've got 5 sets, you've got the choice between 5 sets and no foam rolling, and 4 sets and foam rolling out your quads, which feel tight and that they're inhibiting your movement. Do the foam rolling. You will get more out of it. You will squat more effectively and you'll have a more effective workout. So there is that to think about on the flip side. But I think that's what we talk about. Balance all the time.
Cool. Excellent. That was number 3. Okay, number 4. This is kind of related. Having an evening wind down routine or like a bedtime routine. Go.
Massively underrated, this one. This is a huge one. Catherine, who is one of our coaches here at GT, is very camera shy, but she is all into this and she's got it dialed down. It's something I've never been a good sleeper, and that's how I would say, but this has completely transformed my sleep patterns, my sleep quality, all the different things you can do. There's so much you can play around with, and like we mentioned, you're never going to get it perfect,
Yeah.
but that isn't a reason to not do it
And
and
it's
not
so
to address it.
individual as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? So you've got
absolutely.
to try what
This is
works
it.
for you.
Have fun with it, but yeah, sleep hygiene is kind of the overarching, I guess, umbrella term we'd use for this. Is massive in terms of your health, your longevity, everything. It will benefit every other aspect of your life. You know, it is like being drunk when you haven't slept well, and it can have such an impact. So yeah, and I think we can all do things to improve our sleep, no matter what your situation is, where you're coming at it from, no matter how good you feel your sleep is. There will be something that you haven't addressed and that you can change.
I feel like the only aspect that I would say is kind of overrated is when you see people on like social media that have a 50-step morning routine or evening routine.
Have you been following my feed, Laura?
Yeah, it's Ian. Not overrated, but do you know what I mean? You don't have to. Don't make the barrier so high for yourself.
I'm joking. I don't have it, but I don't. 20 Matt. No.
I'm going to get the details now, the secrets. Make it realistic. And if you don't have any sort of routine, start with one thing that you're going to do every day.
Yeah.
And then build it. It doesn't have to be some crazy, intricate thing that you do that takes you 5 hours to get into bed.
Yeah, it's become such a trend, hasn't it? It started out with the morning routine, like Mark Wahlberg. I get up at 2:30 in the morning and train for an hour, and I do my ice bath, write some poetry. I'll jog on. It's not going to happen, and maybe it does for them, but I think it's largely bullshit, isn't it? Yeah, 100%. I think yes, you can overcomplicate it, and the key thing I think you've just hit on there is exactly what we preach and teach the clients here: is do one thing at a time, do it well, establish it, and then build on top of it. You know, it's the best way to do it. If you build a brick wall without giving time for the mortar to dry in between the bricks, I could walk over and push that wall over. You need to give time for these habits to bed in, and think about it in that way, like you're building up a wall. But if you build the wall well, it will stand the test of time, and your health will thank you so much for it. But yeah, do it slowly, but absolutely give it attention, and don't think it's not important, because it probably is more important than all the other stuff we're talking about. Huge for me.
Also, if you try to change too many things at once, you don't really know what's actually working and what isn't. So you could end up doing 10 different things, and actually 2 of them are giving you the best results, or helping you in some way, and the rest of it you're doing, but it's not really adding that extra. Too. So one thing.
I think, as with anything that you're trying to refine and improve upon, constantly checking in with it, assessing its effectiveness, and tweaking it as necessary. For me, morning walks or runs this time of year are brilliant, but I am not the person that's going out for a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch black, hissing down with rain. I'm just not going to be the person that does that. I think I'd need to move countries if that was going to work out for me. In the summer, I love it. I find it's lovely. Either I go out with the dog, or I'll go for a run, and I will go for a run in the winter in the dark. I'm not going to go for a walk because it's just deeply unpleasant, and I'd rather sit and read and journal, and then I'll do my walking later on when the sun's up. And that's just what works for me. That's what I mean. I'm not saying it's right for me, wrong for anyone else, or right for everyone else. It's
that's a good point, though. It can change over the course of the year, through seasons, or through depending on what your goals are or what you're struggling with. And
work projects, family constraints, summer holidays, for example. We're in the thick of that now. Like, I've got the boys getting up every morning, and we've got nowhere to leave them in the day, so we have to parent them all day. It's tough. So you have to, again, tweak it, be aware of that, and just constantly reassess what you're doing.
It's got to be realistic.
But in summary, massively underrated. Sleep hygiene and getting that on point dialed in is huge.
Cool. All right, the last one then, nutrition related. Protein powder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's a supplement, right? It should be there to supplement your food intake. I know a lot of people these days, it's convenience and it's time saving, etc., etc. And if you're not getting enough protein in your day, and it's a choice between not getting enough protein in, or not having the protein, or not getting enough protein in and not having the protein powder, and getting enough protein, having the protein powder, have the protein powder. And there are days when I'll get 50 to 60 grams of protein from protein powder. There are other days where it will be nothing, and then normally there's when I'm better organised, or I'm at home or able to cook more and things. But they are a lot of the things we hear most often, I think, is, oh, it's really processed.
Yeah. Or the complete opposite, and it's some magical supplement that's going to do all these fancy things.
Yeah.
No.
yeah, absolutely. Like Huel, for example, and that's like quite a cultish following on that. I just had my Huel shakes. Well, if you are not chewing any food all day, that is going to have an impact on your health long term. The first stage of digestion is to look at your food. That triggers a response in your brain. Then you chew it, which again releases enzymes in your stomach, increases gut transit, it triggers the body, it cues the body, it knows what's going to happen. It shifts its focus, going, oh, mealtime, stuff incoming. It's like hands out, ready for the catch, right? To get the nutrients. That's what we're eating for, right? So there are 2 steps there that you're missing out when you have smoothies and shakes and things like that. However, if it doesn't hurt to have 30 to 40 grams of protein a day from that source. And when you say, oh, it's super processed, bread's processed, milk's processed, almost everything we eat these days, unfortunately, is processed in some way. It's very unusual. Veggies and meat. Technically, you could say meat is processed, not eating it off the animal.
Yeah.
It's still being.
Well, it's alive.
I'm open to it. Going back to carnivore days, like hardcore paleo. So I think, in summary, I would say underrated and just vilified a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't spend over the odds on protein powders. There are some bad ones. It's not very well regulated, supplement industry and the protein industry. Yeah. So if it's alarmingly cheap, I'd ask questions. One of the things we talked about before as well is with protein powders is trying to make sure you're getting a complete profile of amino acids. So amino acids are basically proteins are amino acids. We break down proteins into amino acids, and in order to be healthy, and we should be getting a full quota, a full profile of amino acids. If you're vegan or vegetarian, then you'll struggle to get a full profile of amino acids because they don't all occur naturally in those sources, like a pea protein or a rice protein or any of those ones. They won't have a full profile. So what I'd encourage you to do there is mix up your proteins, little protein cocktail,
get good variety
with complementary profiles, and mix it up. So when you finish one bag, go and get a different sort. If you're able to have things like whey protein, that will have a complete amino acid profile, and it's also really easily absorbed into the body. So I think underrated.
Okay.
I feel like I should have a little stamp or a little flag to put up if we're going to do these again. I'd like props. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can definitely do props. We'll do this again actually, because I can think of a lot of things to go on here. Excellent. We can just see what's come up during the week on like social media and stuff, like hot topics and things, and talk about it. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool.
Awesome.
I feel like I've just interviewed you.
I feel good for it though. I enjoyed it. I thought I was fairly restrained, didn't say anything offensive, so that's a win. Cool.
All right
awesome.
then.
Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. We of course will be back.
I think we're back maybe in 3 weeks rather than 2.
Yeah, it was basically I'm buggering off on holiday, so
I wasn't going to blame you for it. But...
I don't mind. It's fine. We'll be doing that. If you're watching this, hit us up in the comments if there's anything you want us to talk about, any topics you want covered. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we will endeavour to get that on the timetable as we move through the weeks and months.
Cool. Speak to you all soon.
See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.